Before you sign a $900,000 mortgage payment, you might want to figure out what else you could get for that same money all throughout the Puget Sound area. And we are here to help with that.
Today, we're going to be talking about lifestyle, commute, affordability, real estate, all the things that you want to know about moving to an area that is not Seattle.
We're Joe and Charity. We're local realtors, and we help people every week who are just like you, trying to make an informed decision about moving to the South Puget Sound area.
So let's jump in first with the Seattle problem. Is there one problem?
I think there's a lot of problems, but well, let's dive into a couple of them.
Honestly, Seattle has a lot going on for it.
It really does.
We were just there the other day and walking around with our kids and grandkids and thinking, what would it be like to live here? And we thought, wow, it could be fun.
Could be fun.
Because you can walk around and you can get to all the great places and restaurants and amenities. And then we thought, what would the actual life be like? And it was going to be a little bit more challenging when you thought about actual life living in Seattle. Now, we've done it before, but we have made the trip south. So we know the difference between living in Seattle and living south of Seattle.
That's right. And we're not just talking about the heartbreak that comes every year in the postseasons when the Americans either lose or the Seahawks don't make it to the playoffs. We're talking about real life problems of the everyday American as opposed to just sports fans.
Let's first talk about the cost of buying a home. The median price is $875,000. And when you think about $875,000, that's not like you're going to get a really great house for that price. That is the bottom line, what you're going to get. And most people are spending quite a bit more than that. If you want to be in a desirable neighborhood like Queen Anne or Capitol Hill, you are going to be spending millions of dollars to get into a house.
Not only are the homes expensive for entry level, which $900,000 as entry level seems like a lot. The sales tax itself is 10.25% within the city. So you're going to be paying higher sales taxes and taxes across the board for the convenience, quote unquote, to live in Seattle.
Let's talk about car related things. First of all, parking is brutal. If you've ever visited Seattle or if you currently live there, you know that it can be $20 to $40 an hour, depending on where you're parking. You also can run into areas where you think you can park and then it's only a certain amount of time and then you go back to your car and your car is gone.
And you wonder what happened.
It's not because it was stolen. It's not that it was towed. I had that happen to me a couple times. The other thing in regards to cars is your commute. So if you're not living right down in Seattle and taking public transportation, and you're probably living in one of the outer regions, then you're going to have to deal with that commute. And Seattle is well known. It's no surprise.
Yes.
It's well known for its very, very nice bit of traffic. So you just want to add on to your workday an extra 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on where you land in that area for your house.
Now, the downtown area, as you've probably seen in the news, does have some safety and security issues that I know they're working on, and the city council is for sure. You do need to be aware of that, especially when you have family excursions or you try to get around or you want to just have a nice meandering day. Just be aware of what's happening in your surroundings.
For all of these reasons, and probably quite a few more, people are starting to migrate south of Seattle. Now, people are also moving north, but north is more expensive.
And it is also more inconvenient if you travel at all. For example, either for work or for family. The airport's located south of downtown Seattle, and it is a far more convenient commute to get to the airport on this side versus the other.
For sure. So let's start in the next biggest city, which is south of Seattle, Tacoma.
That's right. And what I love about Tacoma is the affordability. So we just talked about nearly $900,000 for an entry-level home. In Tacoma, it's $550,000 for the average price home. And that is a big difference between that. Also, you can find cheaper homes for sure in the Tacoma area, which I don't think you could find anything cheaper in Seattle at all, actually livable. So that's something to consider. The affordability is great.
Yeah, I was talking to some clients the other day and they were so surprised at what they could get in Tacoma because they were house shopping in Seattle and it was literally a next to tear down. That was the only thing they were going to be able to afford. And when they got south, they thought, oh my goodness, it is a different world and it is a different life we're going to be able to live. And Tacoma affordability is for sure. Now, there are some neighborhoods that are really desirable. that you are going to spend more than the $550,000 for sure,
Yeah.
but not as much Seattle. But if you are looking for something that's really, really quite affordable, there are a lot of little niche neighborhoods that you want to get a house for $350,000 or $400,000 if you're looking for just something small and quaint and really a good place to find a starter home.
Now, what's great is if you do have to work in Seattle and need to commute on a daily basis, obviously that's a longer commute by car. There is some good public transportation. The Sounder train runs from downtown Tacoma up into Seattle, so that is fantastic. You could do some work, maybe kind of get ahead of the day, be able to leave a little bit earlier. Lots of options for you when you're not driving.
Yeah, instead of being on the freeway for an hour, not being able to get work done, like Joe said, you can be working while you're on the Sounder, get 2 hours of work done all in the Sounder, and then also, have a shorter day at work if your boss allows for that. So that is a really, really smart option.
It really is. At least it's going to be less stressful to not be stuck in traffic. Maybe it's just me that gets a little stressed out with heavy traffic, but I don't think I'm that abnormal.
I think it's normal. So, a lot of people love living in Seattle because it has a really strong identity. It does. It has a lot of culture, has a lot of things to do, but Tacoma also has a really strong identity. It is a very large city, not quite as big as Seattle, but it has a lot going on, and there is a lot of beauty in Tacoma. You have a really lovely waterfront area, Ruston Way, where you can walk and walk and walk, and it ends at Point Defiance Park and Zoo. It is one of the largest urban parks in all of the country, and you can go to the Japanese gardens, you can go to the Rose Gardens, you can go to the zoo, you can go to the Old Nisqually Fort, you can go to the marina, you can go to the beach, you can go into the forest. So many things to do, and that's just one of the parks that are in Tacoma.
And on top of that, you have the Glass Museum, you have the Art Museum, you have the History Museum of the Northwest and of Puget Sound. There are so many great things going on that you really can occupy your time with fun things to learn and explore throughout the area.
And another reason why people love living in a big city is food. We know that because we're foodies ourselves, and Tacoma has quite a few foodie spots. You do have a lot of them along the water, which is really fun with wonderful, beautiful views. And then you've got unique, quirky places all throughout Tacoma. Tacoma is known as Grit City, and that is primarily because it was where the railroad ended at one point. And so you do have kind of that more gritty Northwest culture. In that, you have a lot of uniquenesses and a lot of artistic opportunities and a lot of unique hole-in-the-wall style restaurants.
And don't forget, it's the Northwest, so if you need a little caffeination to get you going in the morning, there are some great coffee shops all throughout the area.
But maybe you want something a little less urban. You're ready for a little something quieter, a little more peaceful.
And maybe you want something a little more artsy, a little bit more outdoors, maybe a little slower pace like Charity has mentioned, granola-ish. Well, I think we got a location that you might want to consider.
That location is Olympia. Even though Olympia is a state capital, it operates on a much slower pace than Seattle and Tacoma. We are quite comfortable getting our jobs done and then just relaxing. And I say we because we live there at Olympia.
So if you find yourself like, I want a little outdoor stroll on a sunny day in January, because that does happen, contrary to popular opinion, you could find yourself in the middle of the day with dozens of other people walking around State Capitol Park, walking around Capitol Lake, and just enjoying the beauty of a laid-back lifestyle, because that's our bio. It's also a little bit more affordable than Tacoma and for sure Seattle. The average price in Olympia is $515,000, and you can get homes for less than that. Obviously, you could spend a lot more than that, but for that $900,000 mortgage in Seattle, you could have a wonderful home with a view of water, potentially on the water, or an amazing neighborhood, whatever you're looking for. Man, 900 was pretty much going to get you a lot.
Yeah.
I would even call it like entry-level luxury is 900,000. And I know if you're from a different area, far more expensive than us, and you're like, what are you even talking about? Speaking with a client about that a couple weeks ago, and she was thinking like, can 900,000 be enough for $1 million? And I'm like, you bet. Let's talk about your wish list and let's find you that property, because they exist for sure.
They do. And Joe and I have had several conversations recently with people that are almost apologetic when they ask, oh, can I get this for 900,000, or can I get this much square footage? Can I get this much land? Can I get this big of a house? And yes, is the answer. You could get that in Olympia.
And what's even better than the affordability of housing, is the quality of life. It is an outdoor oasis with lots of community events happening, from the downtown farmers market that happens every Friday and Saturday, and it's wonderful. Lots of local craft food and honey and fruit and vegetable and restaurants down there. It's just kind of fun to meander around and pick up little local items that you might need for the week.
And right from the farmer's market, you can walk along Percival Landing and have a beautiful view of the water and the marina. And speaking of marinas, if you like to have a boat, there are no less than 4 marinas. I think 5 main marinas in the Olympia area. So it's a great place for boating. If you like to kayak, you can put your kayak in right there, real close to downtown. It is the outdoor lover's paradise. We have beautiful parks. One of them that we like to go to is Burfoot Park, and Squaxin Park is another one. This Quality Wildlife Refuge. And we can go on and on about the park's Watershed Park, which is just right in our neighborhood. You get out and be in the woods within minutes, no matter where you live in Olympia. So it's an outdoor lover's paradise.
As far as the food scene goes, I would say that it is above average for a city of its size. Matter of fact, I'd say way above average for a city of its size. There's great coffee shops, there's great little restaurants, there's breweries, there's a distillery. It may not be as much as Seattle. However, you're going to have some very good options that you're going to enjoy.
I think we have a higher than average amount of restaurants that either focus on vegan or vegetarian or gluten-free items, or they actually have it on your menu. So if that's important for your diet, you will find some really good options in this area.
However, if you are working in Seattle and need to commute there on a daily basis, your days are going to be long, because that is a long commute during heavy traffic times. We do have plans that do it a couple days a week, and so they have a cadence to it, and that absolutely works, especially if you could adjust your schedule a little bit after or before peak traffic times. It usually works out pretty well, but do expect about an hour to an hour and a half depending on time of day travel.
Yeah, the most convenient thing you can do is take the Amtrak. The Amtrak is located in Lacey, which is connected to Olympia, and you can jump on that, and for between $15 to $25 each way, you can actually get right down to downtown Seattle, and you can do all your work on there just like you would on the Slawter going from Tacoma. You at least have a good option for not having to drive there if you do have to commute more than 1 or 2 days a week.
So the quick breakdown is not all things are created equal. The cost of Seattle is going to be the most expensive by far. Tacoma is going to be second on the list, and then following up with Olympia. Depending on where you're at, Olympia and Tacoma do have a little bit closer feel, but Olympia is still going to be cheaper.
Here's a quick breakdown on commute. Surprisingly, your commute could be longer if you live in one of the outlying areas of Seattle than it would be if you lived in Tacoma. For sure, Olympia is going to be the farthest commute, but you do have options if you don't have to work every day in Seattle.
And then the breakdown of lifestyle, it depends on the type of lifestyle that's most important to you. If you want action-packed, if you want a lot of things going on, if you like that big city feel and vibe, well, Seattle is wonderful. For sure, we're not going to be putting down the city because I love that place as well. However, Tacoma, I think, would be the next thing because of its urban feel with the foodie, with some really great outdoor space. It's got a little bit of a mix between it all. However, if you find yourself, I feel like maybe I'm an adult hippie and maybe I'm a little granola. Well, welcome to Olympia, because you're going to find that type of lifestyle probably most readily out of all the 3 cities that we've been talking about.
And now the quick breakdown on real estate. Seattle is pricey and a little more volatile. Tacoma's market has something for everyone, and Olympia is more affordable and more stable. Think of it like this: every step away from Seattle is more space, more affordability, and a calmer way of life.
It really does come down to what you value most, which city is going to be the best place for you to be able to thrive, whether it's Seattle, Tacoma, or Olympia. If you have more questions about this, feel free to reach out to us on the number below or jump on our calendar. We'd be more than happy to help you navigate through the pros and cons of each area and where would be the best place for you to thrive.
And if Tacoma's mix of affordability and still big city vibe has got your attention, then keep watching, because the next video we're going to dive even deeper into Tacoma versus Seattle and give you some more details that we didn't highlight in this video.